You sick fuck. You sick fuck. You sick fuck. You sick fuck. Anyway, guys, this is a 3D Wrestling podcast. And, Vince McMahon is a sick fuck. I'm Darren.
I'm Derek.
I'm sorry to start the podcast off so heavy. However, those allegations are really fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Derek, no, they're fucking sick.
They're sick. I made the mistake of reading through the actual lawsuit, reading through those text messages and the disgusting, insane details of the case against Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis and others in WWE. It is crazy.
It's fucking nasty. You know, 80 years old and you're just a sick fuck.
And the way he texts is crazy.
Like, I'm not gonna lie, he texting like he 18.
It's weird because he texts both like he's 18 and he's 80.
It's so weird.
Because the use of the letter U to say you like the way he texts is really weird. It seemed like a kid would text, but at the same time, I could tell an old man text it because he clearly hits the space bar a couple of times between words. That I could tell. Okay, an old man who can't see his phone well is typing.
Not even to be funny, but Vince was trying to get some shit off in those text messages.
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, he was trying to get. Some
he thought
shit
he was
off,
saying.
right?
He thought he was saying some shit in there. He thought he was saying some slick shit in there.
Nah, it's nasty, and it's kind of unfortunate. Like I know we talked about it the other day because you can't really tell the history of wrestling, especially WWE, without mentioning Vince. Right? There's a lot of things we don't get unless Vince kind of pioneers wrestling in the 80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we don't get a TNA. We don't get a WCW Nitro. We don't get an AEW.
You don't get modern wrestling as it exists on television without Vince McMahon. The creation of WrestleMania, the weekly live wrestling on television. It's not that he invented that within itself, but actually he kind of did. He kind of did, because even the territories, it was always taped shows that would go through numerous loops, just edited and stitched together. The live show going weekly, Monday Night Raw, has kind of been innovated by Vince McMahon. He really did create what is modern wrestling today.
It's crazy. But in the spirit of Triple H, I would like to focus on the fucking positives.
Let's focus on the positives.
So, WWE, Raw specifically, signs a new streaming deal. Not even like a TV deal. We're talking about a streaming deal for $5 billion.
$5 billion. One that could span from anywhere from, I'm not even exactly sure the details, but 5 years to
10.
To 15.
Oh.
Because they can extend their deal if Netflix likes what's happening with Raw. They have the option to extend it for what I believe is another 5 years.
God, that's a lot of money.
I think 15 years is more than Netflix has even existed in its current streaming platform state. That's 15 crazy. Years is a long time.
That's a live stream too. So I know they tested it not too long ago with, who was that? Chris Rock?
They've done it with Chris Rock, and I believe, I could be wrong, I think it's like the Love is Blind reunion special or something like that. They tried to do it live. It failed miserably. They had to put up, they just had to upload it on like a tape delay eventually. It did not work live. And there's an award show, I don't really exactly remember what it is, but there's an award show coming up that they're going to do that's also going to be live. So they've been testing working live right now. The Chris Rock one went perfectly fine. Right. It worked. So, this is an experiment on all fronts. It's an experiment for Netflix to do live programming weekly. I'm sure there's going to be growing pains. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of weeks that Raw is just not working. We got to be prepared.
You think so?
I think so.
I think Netflix has seen what Max has done with incorporating live streams. So, they'll do basketball games. They'll do, the news and all this other stuff.
It's a new lay of the land. Prime is doing, football, I think?
Yeah, they got the NFL. And that's good. Prime is really cool because they do, a lot of insights and stuff and into the game while the game is going on. So that's really cool. This leads me to a question, though.
Okay.
It has not been reported yet that AEW has gotten a new deal.
Okay.
Max and Warner Brothers have not mentioned streaming AEW. right?
Yeah.
Now, there's been some reports it would kind of be like a hybrid show where it's going to be on TNT and also be able to stream on Max. But there has been no confirmation of that whatsoever. Where does AEW go from here?
I don't know. I'm not sure. You can say someone like a David Zaslav is seemingly fine with the way AEW has been currently going.
Right.
We can see it every week. We can see the reports from whether it's a Meltzer or anyone else reporting, like the Brian Alvarez or anyone else reporting the ratings for AEW, and we could see that it's like some days as low as what was this past Collision was like 300K.
Collision might have just hit 300K.
Yeah, we could see an insane number like that, but then turn around next week and they say like, oh, they're very happy with the way AEW is currently running. I'm not sure if it can just continuously run on television in its current state and everything will be sunshine and rainbows as far as that goes. Or I also don't know if it can move to a streaming service like a Max and be rid of that burden, because they don't really post, nor does any streaming service really post the ratings that they garner for every show. So I don't know if with that burden being taken away, AEW doesn't have to worry about that, and it's just seen as a show that runs weekly, and they could just be happy with.
I have an issue with that though.
Okay.
Because then what you're really basing this off of, in a sense, is your attendance.
Yeah.
And we have seen a major drop.
A massive drop.
In AEW's attendance. I mean, shows Dynamite only getting 1,700 people.
Meltzer has been quoted to say it's 2,000 WCW level bad.
Like, that's
bad.
That's bad.
That's bad.
And I can understand, why Warner might be a little hesitant, because AEW, one thing I know for sure is AEW is going to sell out a pay-per-view. But they can't, for whatever reason, sell out a Collision, a Dynamite. I don't want to say Rampage because it's taped the same night as Dynamite.
Yeah.
These shows are not being sold out. They're not gaining attention. They're very stagnant. And it's because they and primarily Tony focuses on one niche market.
I would even go as far beyond that. I would go further than that and say they focus and target an audience of one. I think it's made to entertain Tony Khan. And this is a similar criticism you can say existed for WWE for such a long time. That was made just to entertain Vince McMahon. But just because it has a more of a hardcore wrestling fan appeal doesn't mean this show isn't still made week in and week out to target the audience of simply Tony Khan. And I think that's what causes a lot of problems. People, whether, I don't know if he just loses interest in them at a drop of a hat, could like be on Dynamite 1 week, get a big win over a big star like a Kenny Omega or Chris Jericho, and then next week they're out doing nothing.
Yeah, man, it's rough.
It's hard to really like sink your teeth into an episode of Dynamite. I can't sit here and say there's anything I'm really super excited about. I know a big criticism for AEW is that there's not any storytelling or anything like that. They do have stories. That's something that I can agree. If you really were to break down what AEW does week in and week out, they do tell stories, but they're just not compelling stories. Right now, we're right back with the biggest story right now is Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland.
Well, and then you have the Don Callis family story.
You have the Don Callis. That's actually probably the longest currently running story right now in AEW, and it's. I think I heard somebody say it's a new version of Cody Island. It's its own self.
Jericho's Island, because I don't want to be there.
Yeah, I was gonna say from the allegations that we heard about Chris Jericho,
I don't think we ever want to be on
Jericho Island. But it's like its own self-contained story where everybody just kind of gets drawn in and no one ends up looking good except Chris Jericho. I feel bad because I don't like Sammy Guevara, but he's been chained to that island since his debut in AEW. He's never been able to escape Chris Jericho. He's always circulating him, turning babyface heel, and he never goes anywhere. he might as well be in the same place that he was at the debut episode of AEW. He's just Chris Jericho's little friend.
Nah, he was definitely that debut episode he faced Cody. That was cool. He had his little Cody universe moment.
Yes,
right. And we'll get to the Cody universe. Don't get it twisted.
There's a lot.
I don't know if you see it, but this is the Cody universe right here. We're here. There's adrenaline in my soul.
We're gonna get to talking a lot about Cody Rhodes later on in the show.
We are for sure. I do want to go back to WWE real quick. Listen, The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, he did get his name back. He did get full ownership of The Rock. In addition to becoming a board member for TKO, I guess essentially the new company between WWE and UFC.
Yeah.
That's huge. And, I mean, he has an argument that he might be the head of the table.
He most definitely is the head of the table. He now is a more powerful force in WWE than Vince McMahon.
Well, Vince isn't even... He's nothing.
Yeah, he's nothing.
He's gone.
More... Not Vince McMahon. Any McMahon. No McMahon at all is involved in WWE at all, but The Rock is. How does that sound?
That's insane. Hey, black man.
I love it.
Right? I love it.
The Rock was the wrestler that got me into WWF, pro wrestling. The Rock was my first favorite wrestler, so this is like an insane moment for me.
You know what's really crazy?
What?
He's Triple H's boss.
He's Triple H's boss.
Like, that's insane. Triple H isn't even on the board.
And if you know, like, their history of, like, the jealousy that Triple H had for The Rock for many years, I'm sure it's relatively fine. I'm sure they're cool, but there has to be that feeling of jealousy.
There's 100%.
There has to be that feeling of jealousy.
I will say, there's some people within WWE, and I'm not saying I have sources, that want Stephanie to return back to power.
I could see that. I've only heard positive things. Everybody says she's like a very personable boss. People loved having her around for like her time in WWE. She seemed to be very well liked, especially in her final run as like the co-CEO and the chairwoman of WWE. So if she were to come back, I don't think that would be the worst thing in the world.
No, I don't think so either.
I really don't think so.
So, I mean, WWE had a huge week, right?
One of the biggest weeks in wrestling history, I'd say.
Right.
It looks like every single day there was something big going on, from Raw to Netflix, The Rock on the board, the Vince McMahon lawsuit, Slim Jim pulling out, Slim Jim pulling back in for Royal Rumble.
Like, I mean, crazy. But you mentioned the show that really capped off that week, the Royal Rumble.
The Royal Rumble.
And I want to get into it. I know you want to get into it, so let's just dive right in.
Okay.
First thoughts, instant thoughts. How was the show overall?
It was a mixed bag. It was very predictable, but I don't mean that in a bad way. Everybody who should have won their match. Mm-hmm. I thought the Women's Rumble was phenomenal. Perhaps the best Women's Rumble they ever put on.
I would agree.
I thought it was from top to bottom very entertaining. I loved everything that was going on with there.
Might have been the highlight of the night.
Most definitely the highlight of the night in my book. The Men's Rumble, not as much. I'd say the right person won. And the ending had the right amount of benefit of the doubt for who could win. There was definitely, I'd say, a 50-50 split between both the crowd and the idea of who could tangibly win that Rumble match. And I think that's exactly what you always want out of a Royal Rumble. You never want to sit there just waiting for the last elimination, knowing, all right, this guy's going to win. I'm just waiting for him to finally do it. The entire time you're waiting there, whether you're a CM Punk fan, Cody Rhodes fan, somewhere in between, you're sitting there waiting because you really don't know. Great ending and Rumble outside of that. As far as the other matches go, the Roman Reigns match was a Roman Reigns match. Solo Sikoa came out in a hoodie and interfered. We've heard the story before.
Yes, but Roman, oddly enough, even with Solo coming out at that one point, Roman won clean.
He did win relatively clean. I will give them that. He did win relatively clean.
And I also think, like, this was a match for Logan Paul to prove to people that I'm not just a dude that jumps off the turnbuckle to the table. I think
I have interesting thoughts about the Logan Paul match.
I think he showed a little more. I'm not gonna lie. I like the finish of the match.
I liked it a lot too. It was a bullshit finish, but I think it was a bullshit finish that was done actually very well. And
I think it was a little different because like
it was a little bit different.
Normally, a ref won't catch that. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason, this ref became conscious enough to look up and see the brass knuckles.
And it was done perfectly. Kevin Owens still had it in his hands. The camera angle was even perfect too. You see the ref see.
I don't miss Kevin Dunn. I just want you to know that. I don't miss him.
You see the ref in real time see the brass knuckles and stuff. That was cinema. That was done perfectly. A thought that I've been having for years now in pro wrestling was I always felt WWE was missing a Mick Foley. Which is to say, the bar that, or more specifically the line that crosses from just another wrestler to the real deal, somebody that we could take seriously. And I feel like for years, Mick Foley was always that guy. For somebody like Triple H in 1999, he's becoming a world champion. People still can't really buy him as the guy. They still see him as the DX guy, Shawn Michaels' sidekick. He had those like string of matches with Cactus Jack that really shows, okay, this guy can go. He's the real deal. That's what cements him as the top guy. Someone like a Randy Orton, he's just the evolution guy.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah, nobody really could see him as that guy. He has that match with at Backlash with Mick Foley. Okay, we see, Randy Orton is the guy. He can really carry the company. Even somebody like an Edge.
I was just about to say that.
WrestleMania 22, you see that hardcore match he has with Mick Foley, and we see, Edge can really go. He's the real deal. This guy has it. For years, I felt WWE was always missing that, and they always desperately needed that for new guys who comes in. Somebody, this is kind of a quick aside, but somebody who I felt always desperately needed that but never got it was The Miz. In fact,
that one like hump to get over.
Yeah, that one match that shows, this guy can go. This guy could get the shit beating out of him and he could still come out on top. We respect him. I feel like the new guy who can be that is Kevin Owens, and I feel like Logan Paul had that match.
I like that.
At the Royal Rumble.
I like that. I see a lot, like, modern day Mick Foley is Kevin Owens to me. I think he's the most relatable in a sense.
Most definitely.
Like, he's not the fittest. He's not the tallest. But
he'll beat the shit out of you.
He'll beat the shit out of you, and he got that dog in him.
Yes, he does.
Not the Braun Breaker dog. A different dog.
Well, we can get to Braun Breaker too.
We will get to Braun Breaker. But yeah, man. I mean, I enjoyed the match. I thought it was cool. The Roman match, I enjoyed, and I'm a huge Roman fan, right? But I enjoyed seeing Roman get hit with every finisher.
I like that too. That was a good spot. That was a very impressive spot.
Like, you put Roman through the ringer. Normally, Roman in those multi-man matches gets this break, right? And it's happened for years where he's out of the match for like 10, 15 minutes. This one really focused that everybody has a bone to pick with him.
Yeah.
And they took their turns and opportunity to kick his ass.
That was a good story being told. Everybody had their problem.
Everybody.
And everybody got to take it out on him.
So I do like that a lot. Man, the Women's Rumble. Let's talk about it, though.
The Women's Rumble, though.
Let's talk about it. Look, can we talk about, arguably, I think, the biggest surprise is coming out of this? I would say, I think the working relationship between WWE and TNA that I think is going to come from this.
That was most definitely the biggest surprise. The appearance of the TNA Knockouts champion Jordynne Grace. I would have never predicted that.
WWE not only mentioning them in terms of TNA in such a good light, but also calling it, this is the TNA Knockouts champion. This is TNA, this is a TNA knockout.
They didn't even do that when Mickie James came. They called her the Women's Champion. They did not call her the Knockout Champion. They're using TNA terminology. They showcased the logo. I think, did she come out? Yeah, she came out with the championship.
Straight logo.
Logo, classic TNA logo.
And the next night on Raw, she's blasted front page, and like, I think there's a lot of good that's going to come out of this.
There's definitely a lot of upside, and I like that in this new regime, WWE seems to be a little bit more comfortable playing with others.
Oh, Noah, TNA, what's next? Who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows? I'll tell you what's not next. AEW. And listen, I think this TNA WWE deal, if it comes together, will be 100%, 200%, 10 times better than the deal between TNA or Impact and AEW at that time. I don't think TNA benefited from that.
They did not at all.
One bit.
They did not.
One bit. Like, yeah, you got Christian to get the title again, but it didn't lead to anything for me.
It didn't. It was a complete net positive for not TNA, AEW rather.
I seen a lot of people recently say, okay, just off of this appearance alone, I'm willing to go watch TNA. When AEW and TNA had the deal, I did not see people online saying, oh, I gotta watch TNA.
I think even statistically, after Kenny's initial appearance, it really didn't.
It didn't do anything,
It didn't do
right?
anything to boost their ratings.
Oh man, I don't know.
Yeah.
But then we had some more big surprises. I'm talking a storm. A storm came. I think the storm is here to stay. Man.
That was, in my opinion, the highlight of the night.
The debut of Jade Cargill.
Yeah, you can check out our Instagram or TikTok to see our reaction, our live reaction to seeing Jade's debut. We were let's just say we were happy to see her.
We were happy to see her, right?
Yeah.
You know, prior to that, I got my moment with Nia Jax, right?
Yes.
You got your moment.
Almost.
I almost
got.
They were in the ring at the same time.
Yeah, my dream match for Jade Cargill is for her to face Tiffany Stratton. And I don't care where it happens. I don't care if it's in NXT. I don't care if it's on Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite. I don't care. I just want to see the match. So when Tiffany Stratton came out and I almost...
He melted.
Yes.
He melted.
I literally melted. I fell to my knees and melted. At just the notion that I could possibly get that match. So I'm definitely waiting for something like that.
And then, in addition to that, a huge face-off to me that you've seen between the EST Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill. Which to me is just money.
It's a license to print money.
Money.
Those are what superstars look like.
100%.
Just looking at each other, those are what superstars look like.
Black women are magical.
I thought you were just going to leave it at that and just see black women.
You ever see that meme of the dude? This is total side note. I'm so sorry, guys, but this is a dude, right?
Uh-huh.
This is all the time. And he's just like, black women.
I thought
that's how I feel.
I literally thought
that's
this
how I
feel.
That's a license to print money. I just love the way that they were both holding up, strong as all hell, holding up Becky Lynch and, if I'm not wrong, was it Tiffany?
I don't recall, unfortunately.
We'll play it, but
yeah, we'll cut it in.
They are in a gorilla press and just drop them and stare at each other. And I think that moment right there is like, God damn, this is great.
The strength.
Speaking of strength, she walks right in, picks up Nia Jax like it's nothing.
Like it's nothing.
Like it's fucking nothing, man. Jade, we're excited. We're excited.
Even beyond that, I just felt like the Women's Royal Rumble had what I would call probably one of the funniest R-Truth spots.
Oh my
comedy
God.
segments
No,
I've ever
wait.
seen.
Hold up. R-Truth might have been the MVP of the Rumble.
Almost definitely.
The show as a whole. There's no way you have two great comedic
hilarious
spots.
moments. And R-Truth's comedy could be a little hit or miss to me, but with this run with the Judgment Day, it has been phenomenal. That both appearances that he had in the Rumble just had me crying laughing. So he's been great.
I don't know, just in the Women's Rumble, him walking out and saying, "You telling me these are all women in there?"
that was
hilarious.
That was perfect.
It's hilarious. But then he turns to Adam Pearce and says, "What happened to all your hair?" Friday Night SmackDown, he was on there talking to Nick Aldis. Getting them mixed up, like, they don't even look alike. That's what makes that 10 times funnier. Like, R-Truth, 52 years old, and just...
At the top of his game.
Still killing it. At the top of his game. And I'm happy because, I mean, recently he was doing a lot of interviews, and he admitted that his career was almost over. He had an infection in his knee that could have led to them taking the whole bottom half of his leg.
Insane.
That's insane to think about. But he's back.
Because when you see him out there, you wouldn't think that he's even 45 or 40, right. Let alone 52. He still goes out there. He's one of the best performers on Monday Night Raw. It's insane.
He still does it, man. He does it so well. Right. So,
we could move on to the men's rumble?
We can. I just want to say, I was right. Bayley did win.
You were right.
Women's Rumble.
I was wrong. You were right.
Bayley did win the Rumble, and I'm happy about that. And I think I'm going to continue to be right because her story is going to end with her facing Io. But let's talk about the men's Rumble, right? Your Final Four was almost correct.
It was almost correct. A little bit more underwhelming than the women's one. There was a little bit less action going on. I think the only big surprise was Andrade.
Which we seen coming.
We saw him coming. It wasn't really the biggest surprise, but it was still nice to see him back in the fold.
I like that. I mean, WWE right now is killing it in the Latin community to me.
Almost definitely.
They're just... You got the LWO, right? You got Legado, and then you have Dragon Lee who's killing it, right? Now you add Andrade.
And that's not to mention even Lola Vice and...
You got Elektra Lopez debuting
on NXT, and now Elektra Lopez on SmackDown.
Can I pitch something to you?
Please.
So, I was listening to the Masked Man Show. Now that's another wrestling podcast.
Yeah.
Right? And Kaz was mentioning same thing we're talking about, right? Mm-hmm. It's so populated right now in terms of like their Latin like presentation, right? Mm-hmm. So cool. And this is the most loaded they've been in that position.
I'm sure, yeah.
That they're not looking really for the next Rey Mysterio, but there's so many people that can take that mantle when Rey retires, right?
Yeah.
So, there's two groups fighting for supremacy. You have Legado, which now is Santos, Humberto,
Angel Garza, and
Elektra. Then you have the LWO, which is Carlito,
Cruz del Toro,
right,
and Joaquin Wild.
And Zelina Vega. Right.
Yeah.
Zelina Vega. But now, what if you add Andrade making his own group?
That honestly seems like more of a tangible case now, because I'm not that all these people need to be consolidated to one storyline, but I found it rather interesting that on Raw it was shown that Andrade is going to Monday Night Raw. He's not going to SmackDown.
What if he picks up a certain female wrestler from Miami? I don't know, maybe a new Vice in his corner, I would say. You know? What if he brings up a Lola Vice? I mean, she can go in the ring, right? But I think she can also be a good just manager in addition to him. Now, he gets another tag team, right? And I'm pretty sure they're out there somewhere. You get another tag team to come in. I don't know, man. Triple H is really good with these factions. Right now, WWE is Faction City. You got the Final Testament.
Yeah.
You got the Hurt Profits. That's not what they're called.
We're not gonna call them by their real name.
No, we're not. What are they? What are they even called?
The Pride.
The Pride.
The Pride. Yeah.
No.
You could argue they're developing a big enough division to justify a trios championship.
What? You can. I don't want to see them do that.
I don't want to see that. I never really liked the idea of trios titles.
But there's something I would definitely like to see.
Mm-hmm.
A new WWE pay-per-view. Gang Wars.
Gang Warfare. You want to bring back Gang Warfare from 97?
Gang Warfare. Bring it back. Bring it back. You have enough factions to really...
They have a lot of factions.
You have an entire bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, you can... you can do it. You have a whole Alpha Academy.
They do have the room. They have someone now, a woman, that they can bring into the bloodline if they want.
You have an entire club.
Jimmy's in the bloodline. His wife can come in.
Naomi can join. Or, even Nia said the other day, she said, hey, if they called me, I'll do it.
That should be a good get.
I'm just saying. But back to the Men's Rumble. That was a complete tangent and side note. I'm sorry. But back to the Men's Rumble. I'll tell you what I did like. So, Jay and Jimmy starting off the Rumble was cinema. Perfect to me. I think Jay has really honed in on, like, legitimately being a really good single star. And I just love the look he gave Jimmy the entire time.
Like, Jimmy was giving him the crazy eyes.
Jimmy's so underrated.
Oh, most definitely. He's the most entertaining part of SmackDown. I saw people compare it to almost, he's like the R-Truth of SmackDown.
Oh, SmackDown? Yeah.
He's the most entertaining part of every segment he's in. He's so good. He's very underrated.
Do you have a favorite Jimmy segment? Because I do.
It's an old one, but I think it still has to be. What do you say? Like, I'm on the injury reserve. I can't do nothing.
Ooh, I'm on the injury reserve list.
You what? I'm off the injury reserve list. I can do something.
Nah, bro, that was great. Nah.
Or, honestly, even him, he had his moments in the Rumble that really...
Dog, I was about to say. Him and Karrion Kross sitting there just... No ye. I start stomping out Jay.
Or was it Gunther? I forgot. Somebody hit Jay. I'll edit it in. Somebody hit Jay, and then Jimmy was in the car. He was like, that had me crying.
Yo,
Jimmy had his moments in the Rumble.
So, big surprise from the Rumble was Braun Breaker, right, from NXT, right?
For those of you that don't know, Braun Breaker is like one of my favorite wrestlers. I was so happy to see him come out.
This is true, right? Apparently, he took Brock's spot.
That surprises me because I would have attributed that to more to maybe Pat McAfee's spot. But go on.
But when Braun threw Jimmy out, Jay is in the corner, laying down and just fucking clapping. And I'm like, yo, this is great. Like, the Rumble had its little moments.
It did.
That I really did enjoy.
Even all the nasty McMahon stuff aside, I honestly would have rather Braun Breaker been in the Rumble than Brock anyway.
For sure.
So I am happy the way things turned out in that regard. Not
for sure.
The other stuff.
But you had Santos and Andrade.
They had their little moment.
Like, I thought that was cool.
A little bit of a, what were they called it?
I can't.
LIG. I'm so sorry. But a little reunion between Los Ingobernables.
Look at you. So close.
So bad. So terrible. I'm so sorry. My apologies to the Spanish community. To the Latin community.
Shout out Mexico. Listen, but then you get down to it, and we get to our final four, which we both didn't predict. Drew, CM Punk, Gunther, and Cody Rhodes. Now, if you did not watch the Rumble and you could not tell, Cody Rhodes was our winner. Going back-to-back Rumble wins. But before we get to that ending, because I think there was a beautiful shot at the end of that show, the little match between, the little 10-minute back and forth between Punk and Cody being the final two, I thought was fun. Mm-hmm. I thought it was a little tease. On the other side of that, how did we not get that in AEW? How did you not have that moment in AEW?
There's a lot we didn't get in AEW. We will be here all day if we talk about why did we get that in AEW. We can tune into NXT, watch Lexis King, and say why didn't we get that in AEW. We can see Jade walk out in front of a crowd of how many people?
48,000.
48,000 people, going insane, and say how did we not get that in AEW? We could be here all day. We could be here all day.
That's a huge fumble.
It's a huge fumble,
That's
and
a huge fumble.
Seeing how WWE can flex, having that all of that AEW talent or former AEW talent, I'm sure it must hurt.
It has to. At some point, you gotta look and say, we had this, and we didn't do anything with it.
I'm sure to some degree it has to at least sit deep in Tony Khan's mind. How did I let it get like that?
Like, you bring up a good point with Lexis King, right? What changed in the 2 months that he left? It wasn't even really 2 months, but the 2 months he left from AEW to showing up at NXT.
I'll tell you what, because he said it himself, a real plan. He said it in his interview with Chris Van Vliet. He says it has its positives being in a company that's almost kind of like the Wild West where everybody pitches their own ideas. Apparently it was him who pitched the Varsity Blondes, having Julia Hart and all of that. I'm sure it has its positives being able to pitch what you do. But without having that strong leader that really oversees everything that's happening, I don't think you really get these moments like what we see in the Royal Rumble, or what we see what goes on in something like NXT where Lexis King is given a story. It wasn't his idea to be Lexis King. It wasn't his idea to give up the Brian Pillman name. He was told that, and apparently he said he feels like he thrives in a what's called a space like that. He would be happy if he never had to pitch an idea again. And I feel like that's something that
I can see that.
Yeah, and I feel like that's something that really works well because I'm sure we all know this. Wrestlers have some dumb fucking ideas sometimes.
I mean, yeah, he pitched the Varsity Blondes, and my question to that is, who the fuck is Griff Garrison? But, alright, you're right. Nah. So, let's get back to the Rumble, because two major things came out of this. One, as it's been proven time and time again over the last 2-3 years, CM Punk's body is very fragile now. He might be made of glass. He came out of that injured after taking a Future Shock DDT.
Yes.
Tearing his tricep?
Yes, it was his tricep. I'm not familiar if it's the same tricep that he tore back in AEW, but it is the same injury.
Yes. He's reported to be out 4 to 6 months. But
it's terrible.
Do you think that injury changed the plans on the fly? Or do you think Cody was always destined to win?
I think Cody was always destined to win. I think that they kind of laid it on a bit thick how long it's been since we had a back-to-back winner for the Royal Rumble. And I feel like in years past, we never really had that mentioned much. So I really do feel like they were trying to plant it in our heads that this is what Cody would be accomplishing if he were to win again, and then they went ahead and did it. I think they're very happy that they went with that decision, because I'm sure the idea of CM Punk winning was on the table.
For sure.
And it would have been a terrible mistake, hindsight being what it is, if he had one.
I will say this. I think CM Punk's a changed man. Because him agreeing to that, which you always hear he's a very people person, like forward people person, but agreeing to that, especially coming back, I think it's very interesting.
I think that's also a sign of just having a real leader. You're not going to argue with the main booker, Triple H, about what's going to happen.
I don't think so.
But when it comes down to AEW, I can't sit here and confidently say I feel like if he's told he's losing that there isn't going to be any pushback.
I mean, he said that he works with a fucking bunch of children.
Exactly. To just sit there at a media scrum and talk about the EVPs, about the company the way he did. Do you think he would do that now in WWE? No.
Not at all.
No.
Not a chance.
Nobody's going to do that.
No. Even if you do have some, like, discrepancies or just, you have some issues, I don't think you're going to publicly air that shit out.
No.
Yeah. So maybe Cody was destined to win. I do like, right, Kevin Dunn being gone, right?
Absolutely.
There was this moment. Cody points at the sign, right? 2 Sweets, guns for Kenny, points at the sign, turns around, and points at Roman, which also, nice little touch, putting Roman and Seth in skyboxes.
I thought that was perfect. That was so well done.
Putting Roman and Seth in skyboxes is awesome. Roman is a master, it's just like Paul Heyman, at facial expressions.
Absolutely.
His facial expression when Cody turns and points to him and lets him know right away, it's you.
Mm-hmm.
It's you. I'm here to finish the fucking story. That guy, adrenaline's in his soul. He's 100% going to finish the story. But that leads me to Monday Night Raw. We opened the show with a fantastic opening with CM Punk, right?
CM Punk came out with his arm in a sling, gave out a very heartfelt message to the crowd to talk about what I believe is a real injury. Some people were speculating is a kayfabe injury. We could get into that, but he came out and said something that was honestly like really heartbreaking. That he feels that main events at WrestleMania may just not be in the cards for him. That hit. You don't have to be a CM Punk fan to really feel that.
It might not be though.
Yeah,
You just can't get it though.
it just is a broken main event all out. Oh, not all out, all in. At Wembley, he opened
the show.
He opened the show. Just when it comes to big shows, he can't main event.
That's sad.
But then we see an appearance by Player Hater of the Year, Drew McIntyre.
It's still early, but man, he's front runner for Player Hater of the Year.
He got in the bag. I ain't never seen hating like that in my life. He's innovating the game, to be honest.
I'm not religious.
Shoot camera.
Yes.
Okay.
And that was our mascot. Who needed a stretch apparently.
Yeah. Are we still like in focus and everything though? We're good?
Still focused.
Okay, cool. We keep going.
Drew telling him that I'm not spiritual or religious, but I prayed for this moment.
Prayed for that moment.
I used to pray for times like this.
To
rhyme like this. Yo, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Bro said, I prayed on your downfall and God answered my prayers.
God did. I'm telling you, bro. That's some real A1 fucking hating. And I appreciate it. The honesty.
I respect it.
I respect it for sure. They ended up brawling.
That's another thing. He didn't only pray for that man's downfall and make fun of his injury. He attacked an injured man.
He stepped right on that fucking arm.
He stepped right on that arm.
I know that shit hurt. Sami Zayn then came out to his rescue. But following that segment, we see CM Punk in the back with Adam Pearce.
Mm-hmm.
Also on the Raw show, I thought we had some. Once again, you can see the production is different since Kevin Dunn is not there.
Yeah, you can see a noticeable difference.
We got some cool like backstage segments leading up to that Intercontinental title match.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was pretty cool.
It was.
Obviously, we got our recap of the Rumble. Like I said, they highlighted Jordan Grace. Then we got a video package for Braun Breaker.
We did.
Which was pretty cool. Andrade backstage signing his contract. He will be on the Raw brand.
Which is a surprise to me. He doesn't have to be involved in all of the Santos Escobar, Rey Mysterio, Carlito drama, but I was honestly surprised, especially considering that his wife is on SmackDown.
Well, she's injured right now, so...
Yeah, so I guess it doesn't particularly matter right now, but it was still a bit of a shock to me to see him go to Raw.
I think the speculation is him and Jade are signing to Raw.
Okay.
Naomi and Braun are going to end up signing to SmackDown. Which I think kind of balances out. It's a fair trade, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
What else happened on Raw, man?
We saw the Judgment Day officially kick R-Truth out, if you want to call it that.
That Damian Priest turn is coming.
Which was a heartbreaking segment to see. To see him, I don't think I've ever cried like that in so long. To see what they did to that poor man. All he wanted to do was just live, laugh, and love.
The Judgment Day. Hang out with Tom and Nick.
And
just make a shitload of money.
An insane amount of money. And you know what he did with it? He shared it. He gave everybody their cut, and he was eager to give everybody a cut. He would chase them down in the middle of their match.
What a great guy.
What a guy.
I will say this. Dante, in the group chat, mentioned a story that I'm 100% behind. He said that Damian Priest is going to open that Money in the Bank briefcase. And the contract is not going to be in there. It's going to be a bunch of money that R-Truth put in there.
Money in the Bank.
Money in the Bank. I think that would be a hilarious story.
That would be hilarious. Because something that's been bothering me week in, week out is the lack of Damian Priest's intentions to cash in. Seth Rollins is literally a one-legged man right now. Mm-hmm. And the fact that Damian Priest has not made any single attempt is like insane to me. So when he eventually does, it would be hilarious that he finally has the perfect moment. Seth Rollins is laid out. He's not moving. He can't defend himself. Cashes in the Money in the Bank, and the contract is just not there.
I would like that. However, I don't think the cash-in happens on Seth.
Oh. We're getting interesting here.
I think, and this is a little future booking, right? A little segment I like to call Finish the Story. I think that what we're getting is Drew winning the Elimination Chamber. Drew's on fire right now, right? Great character work.
Yeah.
Drew's going to win the Elimination Chamber. Cody and Roman are both going to be on SmackDown this upcoming week. I think Cody's going to make his intentions clear even after everything Seth said on Raw.
And let's recap that. Let's recap what happened with
So, before I finish that story, let's get to Cody's real quick. Cody's whole story is he needs to beat Roman. He wants the title that his father never officially won.
Yes. The WWF Championship? I'm not sure if it had the extra W at the time when Dusty Rhodes was fighting for it, but the lineage of that championship is absorbed into the Undisputed Universal Championship that Roman Reigns walks around with. Right. So that is the championship his father never won. That's the championship Cody Rhodes is fighting for. That's his story. I think his intentions are clear. He wants Roman. Seth, however, made some really good points last night. Seth said, why would you chase Roman's title? Roman's not the guy. You're a workhorse. I have the workhorse championship. Right? Seth made a lot of good points as to why Cody should challenge for that World Heavyweight title. Right? Mm-hmm. It's the Dusty Rhodes title, if we're being honest. Right? Mm-hmm. That lineage, I believe, goes back to the World Heavyweight Championship. It's been a little unclear on if that takes
it on, but I think I want to say it does. If not, it should.
It's the closest thing we have to it. Even it looks like the big goal.
Right. So, Seth challenges Cody for Mania, which is now kind of unheard of because it's normally the Rumble winner challenging the champion. Mm-hmm. The champion's now challenging the Rumble winner. I thought that was a pretty cool twist on this story.
It was a very interesting change.
Cody then goes on to tell him, maybe. I'll think about it. Now, in the black world, that means no. That's not happening.
That definitely meant no.
Nah, bro. It's not happening. I know Cody's black. That's Cody Luther King. Right? His month is coming up. We're
I don't know if you saw, there was a meme that's, so I used the Drewski video. When Cody says, I think about it, I don't think it's going. I don't think it's going. I'm going to spice it in. I think it's hilarious.
So, yeah, man. Cody, I think on Friday is going to make his intentions clear. It's Roman. Which leads me to Drew. Let's finish Drew's story. All the speculation. Right after Mania, Drew's not going to be here. All this stuff. If that's the case and he doesn't resign, I think you're going to get two things. Right? Drew is going to be booked strong going into Mania. I believe he's going to win the Elimination Chamber. I think he's going to pin Sami Zayn.
Yeet.
Yeet. And I think he's going to face Seth at Mania for the World Heavyweight Championship. Drew is going to win. He's going to get his moment. It's going to be very short-lived. Damian Priest is going to cash in on Drew McIntyre. Now, if Drew is truly on the way out, Drew has stopped Damian Priest time after time again. Mm-hmm. If that is the case and Drew's truly on his way out, he's going to drop the title to Damian Priest.
I'm only laughing because when you said it's going to be short-lived, I just heard...
I think Damian Priest is walking down Mania with the World Heavyweight title.
I'd like that.
I think so. And also, that's going to be the breaking point because I think the Judgment Day, Rhea Ripley is going to lose her title to Becky, but that's a whole different story.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have an episode one of these days about Mania predictions and where we think this is going.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And be on the lookout for our TikTok show, Finish the Story. Our TikTok show, Hot Takes. Yeah, man. You know, just plugging away, right? Why not? But yeah, outside of that, Drew ends up winning last night, right? Once again, I think he's just on a fucking roll. What else happened? Gunther
successfully defended his Intercontinental Championship against Kofi Kingston. That was definitely good. I know we mostly just mentioned the R-Truth side of things, but the Judgment Day did successfully defend their
tag titles against DIY.
Which was a really good match, actually.
I had so much fun watching
it. It was a very good match. DIY slowly but surely is starting to establish themselves as like a force within WWE, a good tag team, and I do think they're going to eventually get to the spot that they were in NXT and had that goodwill with the fans. It's going to take a while, but I think they're getting there.
Do you think Triple H is going to run back Tommaso versus Johnny Gargano?
I certainly would hope so. That was the best feud in all of NXT.
Feud. Oh, man. You know what? Andrade's back on WWE.
They can run it back.
Give me Johnny Gargano versus Andrade.
They can run it back bar for bar. They could go. They could do everything. They could do a whole story.
Fucking masterpiece. Fucking great. Outside of that, how was Raw? Did you enjoy Raw?
I enjoyed Raw. I think they bounced. I don't want to say bounced back as if the Royal Rumble was bad, but I think they were.
It was a good follow-up.
It was a good follow-up for the Royal Rumble, and it was definitely makes the road to WrestleMania a little more interesting. It's terrible what happened to CM Punk. You always hate to see a wrestler go down to an injury, but now there's a lot more questions that we have going into WrestleMania. Before we knew CM Punk is facing Seth Rollins, but now we don't know. It could be. There's a lot of people that could go face Seth Rollins. I see a lot of little murmurings. It could be Gunther facing Seth Rollins for the championship. People think Drew McIntyre could do it. Some people think, who knows, maybe Damian Priest could cash in along the way. And that just creates a whole nother set of... Who knows? We could very possibly have Damian Priest as the World Heavyweight Champion defending against R-Truth at WrestleMania for the title. That's not insane.
I feel like that's insane. Let me ask you, do you think they dropped the tag titles before Mania?
No.
I think it plays into my story then. I think they lose the tag titles at Mania.
I think they're losing to the Awesome Truth at Mania.
And that's when Damian Priest is going to cash in later.
I like it, man.
I'm just saying.
I like it.
You know what I would like, though?
What?
I would like them to lose the titles before Mania, right?
Really?
Give Damian Priest really nothing to do, but give me Finn versus Gunther at Mania. The match I didn't get.
The match we never got because of COVID.
Because of COVID. I think I want that match. But then, it makes me think, you do that. If they lose the title prior, you can have JD and Dom then compete for the tag titles against Awesome Truth.
I actually kind of like that. That actually makes a little bit more sense. So I kind of like that. Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's what I do. Hire me. Hire me. It could be an indie show. I don't care. I will book the hell out of your show. That's a plug for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Damn, do you realize that's only like our third year?
Yeah. Yeah. We went a long time.
Long time without saying. Yeah. Damn. Also, didn't really mention Nia Jax this episode, huh?
It's very unlike you.
It's very unlike me.
I will say, to make her the topic of discussion, Nia Jax has been on fire. Her heel work lately has been insane. She's been doing very good.
She's been on fire. Anything else, man? Are you looking forward to anything during the week?
Definitely SmackDown. Hearing now that Cody Rhodes is going to be on SmackDown, that Bayley's going to make an announcement on SmackDown, I think they make that they're making that just as important as Raw. They're not keeping Raw heavy as far as the Royal Rumble winners going. And I'm looking forward to see where Cody's story goes. I feel like Seth Rollins' argument about facing him has kind of thrown a little bit of a wrench in the story. I still think it's a foregone conclusion where Cody's going, but how he comes to that decision is going to be really interesting.
Can I ask you, does Jon Moxley versus Jeff Hardy interest you in any way?
Not at all. Not even a little. Does it interest you?
No.
Yeah.
However, what I am interested in is a lot of talk about the House of Black. There's been a lot of rumblings that there's two members, former WWE guys, who have made it clear that when their contract is up, they are leaving.
Not surprised in the slightest. I'm really going to be excited to see Brody King and Julia Hart.
Oh, man.
I think they have a lot to contribute.
I think
they have a lot to contribute.
100%.
I'm really excited to see them show up with WWE.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. Malachi Black and Buddy Matthews.
Yeah.
Apparently, the reason they had to change that match on Collision was because somebody in the House of Black didn't want to take the pin. Didn't want to do the job, apparently.
Didn't want to do the jail.
So they had to make it an escape the cage match. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. Here's what I find interesting. Anytime somebody from AEW kind of makes their intentions clear, they kind of want to go back to WWE, a lot of negative things come out about them.
That was always what we heard the MO of even Andrade when he was in AEW, that he did not want to lose a lot of matches, so he just didn't appear a lot. And I just feel like that doesn't happen. I hate to pile on, but I feel like that doesn't happen when you leave AEW. It's only in that bubble that it's allowed to refuse losing certain matches or to refuse to put people over. Not to say this doesn't happen anywhere in wrestling, but I feel like it's a lot more prominent in AEW, and it's an argument we've had like time and time again that there needs to be stronger leadership.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, they have some really good EVPs there, Nicholas and Matthew. So
they're gonna make things right.
They're gonna make things.
They're gonna make things right. As soon as they get rid of Sting, they're gonna make things. They're gonna make things right.
Yeah, because Sting's the problem.
He is the problem.
Why are you 64 and jumping through tables? Why are you 64 and jumping off the balcony? Make it make sense, you know? Why are you teaming with Darby Allin?
I hear ever since they started taking their jobs more seriously, catering has been fantastic.
Fantastic. I heard.
I heard.
And people are getting paid.
People are getting paid on time?
People are getting paid on time. But, guys, that's all. Neither here nor there. This has been a podcast, and I want to leave you with a couple things. Number one, I'm DJ, I'm Darren. I'm here forever WWE champion.
I'm Derek. I'm your co-host. I'm his co-host. I'm not the forever WWE champion.
He's more than a co-host. He's the greatest in the world. He's the greatest in the world, and I want to give him his flowers. He's the greatest in the world. And I will leave you with this tonight. Who the fuck is Griff Garrison? Like, who the fuck is Griff Garrison? Guys, that's a podcast. Wrestling has more than one world family, and I'm out. Deuces, ooses. Guys, follow us on TikTok and Instagram. You can find us at the 3D Wrestling Pod on TikTok. And I believe on Instagram it's the 3D Wrestling Podcast.
Yes.
Man, like our reels, like our videos, you're going to get more live reactions. Us doing follow-up on shows, live shows. And please, please, please add us, right? We want to be your friend. You can follow us. We will be at Mania Weekend coming up in a couple months, right? We're going to have live footage. Hopefully, some interviews with some cool people.
You could be in the videos.
You could be in the videos.
Yeah.
So come and follow us. Come fuck with your boys. All right? All right? That's it. Deuces, oozes.